So I woke up at 8 o'clock instead of 6 today because it was gosh dang cold and I only had 4 hours of sleep because I was working on my video, my journal, and listening to all kinds of voice actors playing games stuff before going to sleep. It also didn't help that I had a cup of coffee with an espresso shot in it. So I ended up waking up at 8 in the morning instead of 6, 2 hours. But to make matters even worse, my back left tire has appeared to have gone flat. So now I need to get help from AAA to either get it replaced or get it pumped with air. So yeah, and now I'm making breakfast. So it looks like all that work I put into planning for my morning has been completely derailed due to factors, some within my control and some without. So yeah, not exactly what I'd call a stellar start so far, but hey, getting things fixed and eaten, so I guess that's good. Gotta look on the bright side no matter what. Alright, see you in the next few seconds. Hello! So, off to the races to work today, and I'm off to the races. Whoa! That was a big bump. Whoa! That was also a big bump. Ooh, I sure hope I didn't damage my car. Yikes. Alright, well, let's move on. Okay, so after that last update, I ate my sandwich, or not sandwich, sorry, burrito. What was it called again? I forget. Chorizo burrito, chorizo and egg burrito. And then the guy from AAA arrived, and we got the tire pumped and inspected. Turns out that the tire actually had a nail in it, and the nail was what was causing the tire to frequently deflate on a constant basis. So the guy recommended to go to the nearest tire repair shop and get it filled. He mentioned that if it's on the front of the tire, it's salvageable, but if it's on the side of the tire, then it is not salvageable. He said they normally patch it up for a very cheap price, around 20 bucks. So me and my mom drove off to the tire repair shop, and we met up with some guys who were very helpful. They patched it up real fast for us by putting one of those car lifting contraptions underneath the device and car, and then unscrewing the tire and then taking it into the repair shop to get filled with some material to keep it from deflating. I looked up on Google, and apparently now it should be good for as long as the life of the tire, assuming I don't run over any more sharp objects like nails, unintentionally, of course. When we arrived back, my mom wanted to go to church, and since I needed to be at work by 1, going to church and then getting out around 12:30, then driving back home and then getting dressed would have eaten pressured or rushed. So I decided to stay behind. I had some Portos desserts and a coffee, and I was watching a guy on YouTube who goes by the name Angry Astronaut talk about this clear UFO footage, or not footage, sorry, pictures, and corroborating evidence of pictures and sightings throughout the years made by credible sources of started off like a guy on the side of a road in the 50s, then farmers in around the 60s, and then there was this specific event in the mid-2000s, 2006, at an airport that was quite interesting to hear about, for sure. And yeah, after that, I apparently found out in the comments there's a new UFO documentary that just came out at a Texas film festival called SXSW, I think, called The Age of Disclosure, where 30 plus US representatives, intelligence officers, and anyone who had to do with the UAP secrecy is speaking up. I watched the trailer. It does look really interesting. Then I went for a deep meditation session, and now I got dressed and drove over to work, and that's what I'm doing right now. So yeah, here I go. See you in a bit. The time is currently 11:35, daylight savings time. So really, if I filmed this yesterday, the time would have been 10:35, and I would have been out today by 9 o'clock. Anyways, enough with the jibber jabber. Let's continue where we last left off. Yes, I arrived at work, and it was a very busy day because Sundays are our most busy times of the week. But anywho, my first 3 hours was spent doing go-backs, bagging the groceries, and interacting with the customers. Any interesting interactions that stand out in my mind? No, not really. To be honest, today I felt very much like I just wanted to be efficient. Part of me believes this has something to do with the fact that I have been going to work now for 4 days in a row, which is apparently, I guess, unusual recently for me because normally, like, it's like 2 or 3 days, then a day off, then like 2 or 3 days, then 2 days off, or what have you, something like that. But I think the psychological effect of knowing that I'll be having work for the next 2 days after today and having constant work for 6 days, which I'm very grateful for and I'm very happy that I have. But at the same time, I also believe that this sense of being out of work a lot more than I'm normally used to has caused me to turn off my more meet and greet and chat part of my brain and more go into the efficient part of my brain where I just knock things out and get things done with little to no talking. Although I still did quite some talking, but it was less so. A lot of that probably has a lot to do with the fact that it's the busiest day of the week, so I probably didn't have time to do that. Just needed to focus entirely on what I was doing. My fourth hour was spent doing lot, which was a lot of fun because you get outside, you get your steps in, you get your vitamin D, the weather is perfect, you get some mostly fresh air considering there's probably noxious gases emanating from exhaust pipes in the cars, but you know, gives and takes. And then it was time to go home for lunch, for which I had reheated spaghetti and meat sauce, which was very good. And I did get a nice surprise. There was Coke Zero hidden away in the back of the refrigerator that I had yet to drink. And I love drinking soda with anything that's saucy, salty, and meaty, like pizza or spaghetti or whatever, things like that. So the fact that there was a Coke Zero that was hiding in the back of the fridge waiting for me was pretty awesome. While I was doing this, eating and drinking, I was watching a new Eyes on Cinema video upload about two guys recounting their experiences with anomalous phenomena in the sky. Yeah, it's my obsession. I understand that. But yeah, they were basically just describing these lights in the sky acting in very erratic and unpredictable patterns that couldn't possibly be explained through traditional aircraft means. And both of these dudes saw these events, I think, like, I want to say the 60s or maybe the 70s, but honestly, it's a bit of a blur right now, so I'm not going to put a time or date on it. All I'm going to say is that was before things like personal drones and things like that. So there wasn't any type of explanation that could fit in like that. But yeah, that was a very interesting interview to hear for sure. Then I decided to have a coffee and a PB&J while watching the Q&A at the end of the SXSW presentation of the new Age of Disclosure film that recently released today, premiered in the Texas Film Festival. So that was kind of interesting to see those guys who were interviewed up on stage talking about wanting this whole thing to be disclosed to the public at large. Now, is this people grifting so they can make money off of people's fascination for the subject matter? Or is it people who have genuine information that could genuinely rattle people's beliefs and change people's perceptions of our reality? One could only hope it's the latter rather than the former, but again, people like evidence, visual evidence,
testimony and hearsay can only take you so far, to the point where people could only really describe you as a storyteller. So, something to keep in mind. All right, so after that, I drove back to work, and the last 4 hours were pretty chill. I had an hour of bagging again, an hour of sweeps, and 2 hours of carts. The first hour of carting, I spent my whole hour out because it was crazy. And I honestly don't know where I got my energy from because I was tired. I wanted to go to sleep, but I managed to push through. And guess what? I succeeded. So let that be a lesson. No matter what obstacles go your way, just keep on pushing through, and before you know it, you'll come out the other end A-okay. Anywho, I was asked to bag because my other coworker needed to do sweeps. Apparently, someone accidentally dumped milk on the floor, so he had to be there to tend to that situation. And yeah, just bagged and greeted the customers as friendly as humanly possible. And I'd say we had a pretty good time. And then, of course, I did my closing chores, which included spreading out the receipt tape to check stands that needed it, wiping down check stand 6 and 5, pushing 16 carts as well as signs into the store. And after all of that, I think that's about it. I might be missing something. Let's see. Check stand cleaning, carts, signs, receipt tape. Yeah, I think that's it. All right. Well, after that, I punched out, said goodbye to my manager, and then walked into the car, drove all the way back home, and when I got here, I ate some leftover taquitos and rice that was on the burner, on a plate, of course, wrapped in napkins, and some rice as well, all while watching a new Digital Foundry video on modders figuring out how to recompile Xbox 360 code so games that ran on that old hardware can now run at insane frame rates and resolutions, which was very cool to see. Then after that, I watched a review of a new AMD graphics card that recently was released. I believe it was the 9070 XT and the 9070, which were decent for 1440p cards. So, but the problem is that none of them are being sold at MSRP. They're being sold at ridiculously inflated prices. Now, I'm not a PC gamer at all, but I like keeping up to date with PC gaming technology because I believe it's a sign of what future technology and other parts of the gaming industry where it will go. So I just like gaming in general. So getting updates on that is always a treat for me personally. And after that, I decided to record this update. Now, I didn't do any of what I said I was going to do on my journal that I worked so hard on last night. And I think one of the lessons, key takeaways I'm getting is that nothing's ever going to go according to plan. And things are always going to take an unexpected shift, whether you like it or not. And so you have to expect the unexpected, also still having main goal in mind that you're working towards. And it's a difficult balance to uphold. I honestly don't know how some people do it because there's so many different factors in life that can play into holding you back or, distracting you from reaching your potential. But I guess the key takeaway is to just ignore the setbacks. I mean, deal with the setbacks, but ignore them feeling like setbacks. Maybe see them as necessary steps on your road to growth, I would say. And there's plenty of other things that are bugging my mind right now. Like I got like a paperwork that is scratching in the back of my brainstem right now, telling me, you gotta work on that, you gotta work on that. So yeah, it's just constantly something to do, which I guess is a good thing. It would be boring if there was nothing to do, so I guess I should be grateful. Well, anyways, I think that's about it for this update. Thank you for listening, and have yourselves a fantastic day. Goodbye, everybody.